Welcome to We Question and Learn. We're celebrating our 20th year here on the air at WQLN FM 91.3. We are on NPR, formerly known as NPR One, so we're on the NPR podcast venue. And at last count, I was doing an audit, and we're on about 15 other venues. We seem to be popping up all over the place because we have interesting guests, such as today. We have Maggie Horne, the director of the Gannon University, SBDC, and let's call that the Small Business Development Center. You've got quite a resume. You've been a director there for, can I guess, over 15 years, maybe a little longer?
I have been with the SBDC for almost 20 years, and I've been the director for 13.
Okay, I'm in the ballpark, but we're really thrilled that you've taken all the effort and time to do this, because this is a very important and outstanding benefit to people in the community. Could you give us an overview of the Gannon SBDC? And maybe, if you could help us, learn a little bit about the larger organization.
So the Small Business Development Center at Gannon provides educational programming and one-on-one consulting to our entrepreneurs and small businesses in the 4 counties in Northwest. Those are Erie, Warren, Crawford, and Mercer. So we provide anything from startup assistance. People are just thinking about starting their business, or they're ready to go, so looking to get financing. So we help them to wade through that process. And then existing companies. We have a lot of companies that we helped start 15, 20 years ago, and we still work with them. Because we've established a relationship of assistance, and it's all about providing what they need, might be marketing, sales, maybe financial analysis, and then getting them to other resources that for things that we don't do, because we don't do everything, but we do quite a bit for our entrepreneurial community. We are one of 15 centers in the state of Pennsylvania, and there are SBDCs all over the country. So every state has a network of centers that help and do the same things that we do at Gannon. And then there's some uniqueness, to the various centers. For instance, at Gannon, we have what we call our tech team. And this tech team is comprised of Gannon students. We hire students to work with us and work with our clients. And their primary function is helping them to develop a website, develop a logo. Maybe they're at startup and they're, trying to get their presence and developing all the assets they need to get it launched. We also help them with social media. It really is centered on digital marketing, the online presence, which is just so critical nowadays. And we also have a connection with Gannon with a consultant that works at the IHAC building at Gannon, which is their technology, basically their engineering technology center. Mm-hmm. So we do quite a bit. But we don't do everything, and we're very happy to have a lot of partners in economic development in the region that we can refer our clients to, so we can provide as much assistance as possible to the small business community.
I wanted to do a little bit more with your resume. I looked at this, and it's impressive because you worked in your career with companies like Microsoft, UPS, Ford, Procter & Gamble, Caterpillar. These are major companies. You've also been working with companies on mergers, over 50 mergers and acquisitions. And so at least I know that, as you sit at your desk, you're well qualified to help someone who walks in the door. With that, how many folks do you have working with you, Maggie?
Well, thank you very much for that. We have 2 consultants in Erie County, and we have a program project coordinator there. So there's 3 plus me in Erie. Then we have a Mercer County consultant who is in Mercer County full-time to assist the entrepreneurs in the small business community here. And then I have a senior business consultant, Shane Foster, in Crawford County, and so he assists in managing the consultants as well as assisting any companies in Crawford. Warren is shared by all the consultants. So in total, and then we have Dan Dell, who is our IHAC consultant, working primarily in the manufacturing industry. So all total, I have 7 people at our center, including me.
Now, do students get involved with you?
Oh, yes, very much so. I am also very blessed to teach at Gannon. I teach just one class a semester. That's all I can really fit in my schedule with, what I do at the SBDC. But it definitely is a pleasure to do that. So the students are exposed very much to what the SBDC does because they're in my class. So obviously, I'm speaking with them about some of the resources, but we also hire students and they actually work for us on the tech team. Right now, I have 5 students for this semester that will be working with us, and they are going to be working on the digital online. So they'll be doing websites for clients. It is limited to our clients. We can't do that for everybody, but we do assist them in developing the websites the students do. They also do business plan reviews. I look at it as a learning experience for them. I want it to be beneficial for both the SBDC as well as the students because we are a learning environment. That's what it's all about, providing the education and resources to help small businesses be successful. And so I also want the students working with us to be exposed to that. So they will sit in on client meetings so they can learn a little bit more about, what is happening in the business world. They learn the components of business planning, financial projections. They do a lot of research. That is one of the big things, I believe, one of the benefits of working with the SBDC is we have access to a number of databases that not everybody has. And so we're able to pull market research, demographic data. IBIS World is a huge resource that provides updated to date, right? I've been doing this stuff long enough that I had to wait, 10 years for census data, right? You remember when we had to do that? Now it is updated much more frequently. So it's very beneficial for clients to understand the trends in their industry, who is their target market, what are their activities, what is their behavior, and it's changed quite a bit in the last 4 or 5 years.
I'm sure there's folks camped out at your doorstep, but there must be a process where folks can come and talk to you. You're going to advise them. How does this work? And maybe we can talk about some success stories subsequent. But if I have an idea or I have a small business, what should I do?
Well, we make it as simple as possible because there's so much, there's a lot of confusion a lot of times. Where do I get this help? And so we have a website, a very active website, and what people can do is just go to our website and click on a button that's very prominent called Request for Consulting. They click on that button, they fill out some basic information, who they are, their demographic information, and then what kind of assistance they're looking for. We receive that request, and then we will connect with them. If it is a startup, they've never owned a business before, they're just looking at exploring this world of entrepreneurship, we will recommend and highly recommend, I should say, that they attend our First Step program. Our First Step program is held once a month in Erie and once a month in either Crawford or Mercer. We every other month we rotate between those two outreach. And what we provide during that seminar is a complete overview of everything you need to know about starting a business. And it is an overview because there's a whole lot, to it. But that gets people educated on all of the areas that they need to be exploring and be aware of in order to pull together a business plan, their projections, and feel much more confident when they open their business. So those are for startups. For existing companies, if they are looking to expand or they'd like some assistance for marketing, or they're going to be purchasing another business, if they're looking at an acquisition or something along that line, they do the same process. Just click on the request for consulting, fill out the request, and then we will connect with them and assign a consultant to assist them.
Sounds like a lot of work. How many of these consultations do you maybe typically do in a year?
Yeah, well, I just pulled the data for the last quarter because I just got done doing a report because we are an accredited organization, and we're funded by the Small Business Administration at the federal level, and we're funded through the state at the Department of Community and Economic Development. So obviously we provide reports to them. We want to make sure they know that we are spending their money wisely. We are helping the community, doing what it is that they are funding us to do. So we work with anywhere between 800 and 1,000 individuals or companies on an annual basis. And that constitutes we probably are at around 2,500 to 3,000 hours that we are working, each of us, each of the consultants are working with those 800 to 1,000. Now, during economic downturns or other activity that might be affecting the business community, we can go up to 1,200 people that we work with. During COVID, during 2020 and 2021, we counseled at least 1,200 individuals or companies during those 2 years due to what was happening and the effects and the assistance that they needed to get through that time.
That's amazing. I would have said a couple of dozen for the year, going front to back. I didn't realize what a volume of good work you do. Are there any examples you care to talk about, or maybe just some concepts that you thought were interesting, if I could ask?
Sure. So, the needs change. Just like we recommend and we advise our clients, you need to make sure that you are providing what is relevant to the customers or clients that you're seeking to do business with. So we need to be keeping up, with what is happening in the entrepreneurial and small business community. So we do, professional development, and of course we learn along the way because we're working with, companies every day. So we have a very good idea of some of the challenges that they have. And understanding the trends and what challenges and opportunities they're facing, we need to change the things that we do to provide to them. So 30 years ago, it was not, online presence and being comfortable with technology and having a website and, chatting and Zooming and, all the things that are now didn't exist. So we needed to make sure that we were educated in that, we were utilizing those tools, and we were able then to help our clients to feel more comfortable and confident in, moving forward in that way. Clients, their customers, the people they're serving, they want it to be as convenient as possible to do business with them. And so, that's the consumer behavior now. You need to have an online presence. That's how people are finding you. Mm-hmm. So we look at what is happening and we adjust our educational programming and our consulting to make sure that they are aware of what is happening and they're prepared to be able to serve, their customer base. So, it's very important. We didn't work with digital. We work with a number of industries. So we work with everybody from the person who is making candles in their basement and, selling them at craft shows and, at various little stores in their community. That's what they love to do. That's what they do, all the way to a manufacturer with 100 to 200 employees. So we get to learn every day too, Tom. And I think that's what drives us as SPDC, a team, is that we love what we do and we love learning about what is now trending and the new industries that are coming up. And we get to learn it right along with our clients. And so it's never the same. The days are never the same. You're going to meet with somebody in they have an idea that you've never even thought of, you never even heard of before, and you get to explore how, what's happening. That's what those research databases are really important for, right? Because what's happening, is that a need? Is it relevant? It is something, that is trending somewhere or has become a need, to make sure that we are able to assist them or find the resources that they can. So we have helped people go to market with products. I'll just say an example of a client I worked with years ago. I don't do as much consulting now in my position, but I certainly do some, and it's primarily in the areas that I have more experience in. You had mentioned about the mergers, acquisitions, valuation, understanding how you build value in the business. So I still do some consulting in that respect. But I started doing full-time consulting with the SBDC, and some clients I continue to work with, they want to continue working with me. And one was, bringing a food product to market. A lot of, people don't quite understand the complexity of doing that. You need to make sure you're going through FDA, you need to get all of your ingredients, and tested, and you have to be able to make your food label, and all of the steps that it takes to do that. So you might have the most awesome salsa, or a jam or jelly. Working with the agricultural industry, they have a lot of things like that go to market. They have a lot of steps to take to do that. And so we have done that quite a bit, actually, over the years. And it's very important for us in our area to be supporting the agricultural industry. And so I would say, something that's unique that we do, or something that really gives us pleasure that we're able to support, is that local environment, those local companies and industries that are so vital to the overall community. Shop small is very important. We are very active in the shop small, and unfortunately in Erie, if you recall, we just had that huge snowstorm during shop small, and they had to regroup. Because even though they could do nothing about it, that was something that was very detrimental, because that shopping day is so very important to the retail stores. And they really had to regroup, and they held it the following Saturday, but it certainly was a challenge for them. So I think I went a little off course on that, Tom, but I was just trying to, the complexity and some of the things that we need to pivot sometimes to help when those kinds of activities are going on.
No, you were right on track. Let me also ask, I just went through the list of probably a small portion of the companies that you've planted seeds with or helped. Everything goes from technology to dining to art, hairstyling, software. There's no one category that you specialize in. You help everyone. Anyone who has, say, a good idea, and you help them gain the skill sets to start or maybe do better in their business.
Yes. And that's why we have such great days, because it's never the same, right? We get to, nothing's monotonous. The daycare is very prominent right now. So we've been working with a lot of daycares. And yes, you're absolutely right. You know, whatever it is, we may not be experts in the particular industry, but what we are resourceful. And we are able to get the information. And because we are part of such a large network of other SBDCs, there is information and expertise that we can tap into. So, and a lot of us, I owned a catering company for 13 years. So I have, you know, on the food side, one of my consultants owned restaurants. Another one of my consultants owned a marketing firm. Another one, you know, was in the media. So each one of the consultants bring their previous experience into the business, you know, into our day-to-day. So even though industries and businesses are differently focused, as you mentioned, dining, technology, barber shops, hairdressers, all of those, the basics of the businesses are the same. And then we look at how the industry trends and what is important to know, you know, what are the specific types of things that are, you know, it's essential about that industry. That's where we bring the resources in to be able to look at what other companies are doing, what competitors in that industry are doing. And we can gather the resources to be more knowledgeable and learn what is happening there. And it's great. We do work with a lot of restaurants. We love to eat in Western Pennsylvania, Tom.
Yep. Yes, excellent. Yeah, and looking at the list, you do a good job.
Breweries as well. You know, we helped the majority of the startup breweries in our region over the last 10 years as that trend, right? That was a trend that was happening again. We saw that happening. We started to educate. We pulled resources, and we helped quite a few of the breweries that started up in Western Pennsylvania over the last 10 years as well. And fortunately, some of them are still around and doing very well.
That's great to hear. Now, before we run out of time, and we have a little bit of time here, how do people find you? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, they can certainly Google us. That's probably the best way to find us. They can just put Gannon Small Business Development Center. They can put starting a business, and whatever kind of keywords, you know, I want to start a business. We are, the SEO, we show up usually within the first three, results that come up with that search. Or our website is pretty easy. It's sbdcgannon.org. So, going to our website is very easy. You can call us. 871-7232, and all of our contact information is on our website as well if you'd rather email. Well, you're also welcome to stop in. We are right at 900 State Street in Erie, and we are always happy to talk with you for a few minutes and get you started on the process to engage with us on the one-on-one consulting or come to some of our programming. But the easy, like I said, if you Google us, you're going to find us.
Do you have a board, or are you just working in conjunction with Gannon? How are you organized? Or are you just an independent SBDC for this part of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so we have a lead office at Kutztown. That lead office is our administrative office for the state, and there's a board there. So even though Gannon doesn't have a direct board, our lead office does, for which then we have as well. At Gannon, they are our host institution. So that means that they have agreed to and support us in providing the resources we have under the Gannon umbrella. So even though we are not a department of Gannon, we are part of Gannon as far as the resources available there, the support that they give us. We have a phenomenal relationship with Gannon University. They support our mission and definitely are a great partner in providing the education that are, in all ways that our community definitely can take advantage of.
Now, you also do seminars. Is that just for your clients, or is that for the general public?
That's for anybody. We do seminars for anyone is able to come. It's, everything we do, those programming is open to the public. You don't have to be a client to attend. And we have a number of types of programming. It varies. We try to give a variety. And all of those programs are listed on our website as well. We are also on social media. So Facebook, you can follow us on Facebook and be able to know the various activities that are going to be coming up. We are providing, I think, the good what's coming up soon that I think is very relevant is on February 11th, we're going to be doing a financial forum. And we're going to be providing tax. We have HBK accounting. They're coming in and providing tax tips for 2025. We're going to also be talking about how to use your financial statements for decision making. We're at the first of the year. What are your plans, coming up for this year? And we're very honored to have Russ Miles. He is the regional director for the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, coming to be our speaker, and we'll have some lunch. So that information all can be found on our website or by following us on Facebook. We really like to balance. Not everybody needs one-on-one consulting, Tom.
Right.
They just might need a refresher or to learn about a particular topic, business-related topic. So we do not, we welcome everyone to come to any of our programs.
Well, last quick question. Do you have students come in, say from Gannon or elsewhere?
Yes. Yes,
wow.
We do.
Wow.
It's really great working with the students because they always have really fresh ideas, things that we really haven't thought about. And they're the next big consumers, right? So them understanding what's going on and the kinds of things that people are going to want to pay for, want to buy and experience, it's a pleasure working with them. We've had, probably if I want to say the last year, I'll use the last year as an example. We had 5 different students coming in with different ideas for starting a business. They're not quite ready. They're still in school, but they're developing their business plans and looking forward to taking their idea to market. And that's typical, 5 to 10 students from Gannon, but we also get students from other universities as well. We are not just focused on Gannon students. Anyone from any of the universities are welcome to work with us.
Maggie Horne, you're refreshing. Your enthusiasm it's there. You can hear it in your voice. I can see that you folks are working diligently to help people along with their growth, economic development, and becoming good members of the community and becoming profitable, I'm sure, as well. Maggie, thank you for doing this. It truly was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much, Tom. You're very welcome. It was definitely a pleasure for me.
Welcome to We Question and Learn. This is your host, Tom Pies. We're celebrating, 20 years here on the air on WQLN FM 91.3. We're on up to about 16 or 17 podcast venues, as well as WQLN.org. And my recorded guest today is a fellow who's been on before, and I just thought that a half hour prior was not long enough to talk about all the things that are going on. So I invited Craig Palmer, the Chief Executive Officer of Erie Water, the Erie Water Works, to come speak again. Greetings, and how are you today?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well, thank you. Happy New Year to you and all the listeners.
Well, the reason I asked how you're doing, because we chatted for a half a second prior, and as this is being recorded, we've come off a tough few weeks here, and this weekend that just went by was no pleasure for you. I hear you worked pretty hard this weekend.
Well, I can tell you, the crews in our distribution department certainly did. It's been a busy, very busy weekend. January is historically a busy month relative to water main breaks, and we do everything we can to invest where we need to help prevent those. But be that as it may, Mother Nature has other plans, and so we had we average about 230 main breaks each year. But starting Saturday, really with the deep freeze, over the weekend, we repaired 13 water main failures, and currently we're working on 4 of them. So this time of year is with the freeze thaw cycles and things happening, we tend to experience this. So we, the crews are working hard, and to make sure we keep people in service and get people back in service as quickly as we can.
So people understand this is not because of any inadequacy of Erie Water. This is age, but you mentioned once before, you made a comment to me that there is I want to call it geologic or a structure issue with cold and warm weather and the way some things are built around Erie. I'm probably not even describing it properly, but I'm sure you know what I mean.
Sure. So it's a variety of things that lead to water main failures. These pipes are underground. Ideally, they're below the frost level, but we've seen frost go at least 4 feet deep at times during really deep freeze cycles. But we're typically about 5 feet underground, but some of the older pipe might be shallower and a little more prone to that shifting of the earth when that happens. And when it freezes, the moisture in the soil kind of expands, and then when it melts, that will kind of go down again. So when it freezes, pavement tends to heave, and vice versa. So that cyclical event kind of really impacts it. But we do have old pipe in the system too, Tom. We have 770 miles of pipe and in the system, and some of it is over 100 years old. So we really try to balance where we put our investments to really try to reduce water main breaks.
So in the big picture, when you have something that's over 100 years old, it's built differently. Is it built, well, it can't be built better than what you would do today. You're sort of, it's like a mumbly beg game to some degree.
Well, the older pipe is cast iron. And so in the 70s, we began using ductile iron pipe, which is a stronger pipe. It's certainly not immune to failure. When you're in corrosive soils and that metallic pipe is unprotected, that could degrade and cause issues. We take extensive means to prevent the corrosion of our pipes with our installation methods now that we've employed over the past 30 years. We're doing everything we can to really protect that pipe from corrosion. But, we do have some older pipe that's exposed to some corrosive soils, and certainly that plays a part in it too.
Over the years, not only are you keeping everything running, you also are required to do some new projects. What's on your desk right now that you have to accomplish?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, we had a big year in 2024. It was our 3rd largest year of investment since we became an authority in 1992. We invested over $22 million into water system infrastructure. So that includes water main projects, work at some of our storage tanks, and a lot of that money is going towards eradicating lead pipe in the water system. So this coming year, here in 2025, our board of directors has approved a roughly $50 million capital budget. And I don't expect, we're not going to spend that all this year. Last year we had over a $60 million budget and we spent, $22 million. But that represents projects that are on the books that will go multi-year. So all of our lead line work is going to be kind of a multi-phase thing. But we expect to spend probably over $20 million again this year. One of the big projects we have, if you're familiar with the Asbury Woods area, Asbury Woods Nature Center, we happen to have 2 water storage tanks in that area, and there's an old pump station next door to it, and we're rebuilding that. So we're building a brand new pump station next door. It's a $5 million project. We've got bigger pumps we're putting in for expansion, better fire protection. We're going to have an emergency generator, again, to help ensure we have a continuous water supply to that particular area of Mill Creek. And that's a growth area. That's going to help supply water to that I-90 Sterretania Road intersection that the Redevelopment Authority is looking at. So we're looking big picture and projects that make a big impact. And that's certainly one of them. But we have lots of lead line removal work we're planning this coming year as well. We have well over $40 million. Okay, Tom, and we've obtained $49 million to eradicate lead, and of that we've spent about $9 million of it. So we still have $40 million in lead line eradication that we're going to be doing over the next 4 years.
Forgive me, where does that money come from? Is that the federal government or the state? How does that work?
I'll tell you, the majority of it, roughly $43 million, came from the bipartisan infrastructure law. And so, that's federal monies. And about $6.5 million came from some other federal sources. And that first $6.5 million was a grant. And out of the $49 million that we've obtained, $40 million is grant money, and $9 million is 1% 30-year money. Other than grants, you really can't get it any cheaper. So that ability for us to have obtained that really saved us from raising rates over 10%. Because if we would have had to make that same level of investment so quickly, we would have had to raise rates to that effect. And so that grant money really made a huge impact for our ratepayers.
I know some people look at their water bill, and I was at my kitchen sink last week replacing a faucet, and I looked at just what little I had to do. I couldn't even imagine if I drew a dotted line from my home down to, West 26th or even all the way down to the Bayfront. I can't even imagine how much money it takes to maintain that infrastructure. What's your total budget like?
Sure. So our operating budget is over $50 million. And, part of that, roughly half of it actually represents debt payments. We've had to invest heavily to rebuild this water system since we became an authority in 1992. And we've invested over $380 million to do that since then. And so we do have a healthy amount of debt, but at the same time, Tom, our rates are some of the most affordable in the state of Pennsylvania. So we keep our eye on affordable rates, but also aggressive infrastructure investment because we do have an old system that needs to be rebuilt. But roughly half of our expenses are operating, and that would be, staff, that would be electricity, chemicals, all the things we need for our 106 team members to be able to draw water from the lake, treat it, and distribute it to, over 64,000 customers representing 220,000 people in Erie County.
I'm looking at the map. I'm fascinated with maps. I can't even imagine what it would take to move. And I'm looking at the map that shows the Lake Erie, I'll call it the watershed. There's probably a better technical word for it. The Lake Erie Water only services geographically so far. I guess it's a drainage basin that I'm talking about, but you go well beyond that. I can't even imagine where does all the piping come from? You have to purchase that, obviously. Is there
Absolutely.
Is there a process that a water authority has to go through to do that diligently? I'm probably confusing you. I'm trying to imagine what
nope.
the infrastructure looks like.
Yeah, so it's really a complex network of interconnected piping that's underground, right? It's almost like a maze. So if you picture, like a maze that you're going to put together, that's kind of the networks of pipes, and it follows the city grid, right? At intersections, you'll commonly see fire hydrants. At those same intersections, there'll typically be valves that allow you to isolate areas, which allows you really to operate the system. So when there's a failure, you can isolate it to a limited area and kind of keep most other people in water service. So, certainly if you were to look in your basement and see all the water piping, picture that on a much larger scale and underground. And so that's really kind of what happens below the surface.
Well, mentioning the basement, your gentleman came by and replaced the meter. What an outstanding individual. He was in my mind, a highly educated person, able to describe some technical things for me, and I was grateful for that. So you have a project now that involves the water meters?
That's an ongoing thing for sure. We are looking at integrating some smarter meter technology into our meters. So we have that in mind for the future. But on a regular basis, our meter department is replacing, the oldest of the meters, right? We want them to be as accurate as possible for our benefit and the customers, right? We want to meter properly. So, there's always ongoing efforts to replace meters that are, nearing their useful life. And so, that's an ongoing program, Tom.
Yeah. Now, can we talk about lead exposure? You're working diligently in that arena as well. Can you describe a little bit about that project?
Absolutely. And so, we talked about some of the money we've received, but I think it's important also to talk about we have exceptional treatment that prevents lead from leaching from piping to the water. So in terms of is my water safe to drink? 100%
Yes.
it is. And although there's some lead pipe in the system, once again, our treatment, erosion control treatment, prevents that from becoming a problem. But be that as it may, our goal is to get all of the lead piping out of the system. And that is the best way to deal with lead, is to absolutely remove it. And so, with that in mind, we're required by our regulators, the Department of Environmental Protection, to submit our inventory of all of our water services and what type of material they are. And that included what was on the customer side, because we don't really have records of what the customer is responsible for, which would be on their private property. So Tom, we were required to send over 47,000 letters to our customers, to our customers, and say, your water's safe, but we need your help. We need your help. We need you to help us know what's coming into your home or business, what type of pipe it is, because depending on the type of pipe it is, we may be required to replace it as part of the lead and copper rule regulations. And so our first quarter news splash that we're sending out with our bills really is going to help the customers understand a little bit more about why we're asking for that information and why it's so important for them to help us. With so many customers, it's very challenging for our staff, a staff of just over 100, to visit each home, right? So we have a helpful QR code. People can scan that, take a really quick survey, and take a photograph of the incoming water line. And that'll help us figure out what type of material it is to make sure, number one, if it's lead, we're able to do something about it. But if it's galvanized or wrought iron time, and it was after a lead gooseneck, then we're going to have to replace that. And so, that's why we're really doing a lot of outreach with our customers to make sure they know, number one, the water's safe, right? And number two, let's work together to find out what we have in the system. And so that will allow us to take action if needed to remove that piping.
You've got 100-year-old pumps. You must have better than 100-year-old buildings that somehow need to be monitored. And I'm guessing there's no good record. No one ever thought about labeling that, say, 50, 80, 100 years ago. That's got to be an insurmountable project to some degree.
Well, I'll tell you, Tom, we have really good records on what's on our part of the water system, right? What's in the public right of way.
Yeah.
The problem was we never really had to know what the customer had. And so that's changed. It's so important for us to know that now. And that's why we're building that data set and really trying to engage the customer and number one, educate them, but then, ask them for help, help us help you and help us, meet all the requirements we're supposed to, because that's what we want to do.
Is there a deadline to finish the mitigation, or you just have to do the best you can?
So the clock started in October of last year. So utilities have 3 years really to formalize their plan. And beginning in 2027, utilities across the United States will have 10 years to eradicate lead piping from their water system. And we're projecting to be done removing lead right around that time frame where that requirement starts. So right around 2027, 2028, we hope to be done removing the lead piping that was in our water system. So we're ahead of the curve. We've been kind of trailblazing that and have received some national recognition from the Environmental Protection Agency. We were listed as a success story on their nationwide press release relative to lead and copper. So, we're excited to be really on the forefront of that, prioritizing public health and doing everything we can to get the lead out.
You're limited, though. You can't go into someone's home and say, oh, your whole house is lead. The house is built in 1888. There might be some. That's not your responsibility, or are you somewhat obligated to at least make people? How does that work? Are you required to make people aware of what's going on?
Sure. So where our jurisdiction ends is really kind of at the water meter. What happens inside the home plumbing is governed by the municipal ordinances and rules and regulations of where you're at, whether it's Mill Creek or Erie or Harbor Creek or wherever. So those plumbing codes govern what's inside. But quite frankly, 70 years ago, there was only a certain, so many choices of piping that could be used, right?
Right.
Copper piping was just coming into existence in the late 40s and such. And so it's really a matter of recognizing that old plumbing systems, they too reach their useful life. And so it does make sense, at times to replace that when you have the means to do it and when you're able to. We've been asking around for a long time, is there any funding for inside the home for people that need assistance? And right now I just haven't found any. And I think that's because really the push is to take care of what's on the public system. But I think in the future, you're going to see dollars, being put to some of those internal plumbing systems. But right now, there's nothing I can see on the horizon.
Come a long way since 1815, right?
There's no doubt about that.
And I'm looking at the Big Bertha. I was up in Buffalo, having lived there a good number of years, and they left the old Big Bertha up in their waterfront facility, which I can't even imagine how you were able to pump thousands upon thousands of gallons of water with this Bethlehem triple expansion high-duty pumping, and it just had to be amazing. What did that run on? Did it run on oil back in the day? Maybe, or electricity? I don't even know.
Steam and
steam,
it was a steam engine, yes,
yeah,
and coal-fired, and it was a whole. It was a whole system, right? It was a 20 million gallon pump, and it's humongous. The size is
size of a building. Yeah.
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 In fact, we were featured on the Manufacturers and Business Association magazine in December, and the whole team is gathered around Big Bertha for the cover page picture. I'll have to share that with you.
Did you tear it down, or was it so large you
It's
left
still
it?
there.
Yeah, just like
No, it's
Buffalo,
still
you
there.
left it up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then in the 50s, you put in the high-tech pumps, which look minuscule. I can't even
That's
imagine
right.
how these electric motors are able to do the job. Now, your intake systems, can you tell us a little bit about how that works? It comes in off the lake or the bay, and then it goes up to 26th Street, something like that, to a reservoir, and I'm probably distorting how this works. How does that all work?
No, you're on point. So we have two pipes that draw water from Lake Erie, a 60-inch pipe, which is 5 foot diameter, and a 6 foot pipe. We have two water treatment plants. So those pipes go from our water treatment plants. They go under Presque Isle Bay.
Mm-hmm.
They cross Presque Isle State Park, and they go out into the lake about a mile.
Wow.
And those pipes are surrounded by intake cribs that protect it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're about 30 feet deep. And so we bring the water in, and then we pump it through the treatment cycle. We settle out any solids, using some advanced treatment processes, and then all of the water goes through intense filtration, and then disinfection. We have to make sure there's no bacteria, and then we pump it out into the system. But yes, we transmit it to the Sigsbee Reservoir, which is just south of the Erie Cemetery on 26 and Sigsbee. It's 34 million gallons of water. It's kind of the heart of the system. And from there, we pump it west, east, south,
Wow.
and on and on.
And that's all highly protected and covered. I know that. So
Absolutely.
as you get farther out, what is the biggest distance you have to cover with this system?
Well, we're all the way down in McCain Borough,
Oh, okay. Mhm.
and we're as far east as almost to the eastern end of Harbor Creek Township. So, we're knocking on the door of Northeast. And Tom, the Great Lakes Basin is kind of the drainage area where when it rains, if it goes to the lake, that's in the drainage basin. We can't take Lake Erie water out of that. So we can serve from state line to state line, New York to Ohio, and all the way to the Great Lakes drainage basin. So there's a tremendous amount of untapped service area that we can bring high quality water to at very affordable rates.
And unfortunately, California is suffering a bit, and maybe there's some question as to the budget and where the water for the hydrants are. We're very fortunate. We have the Great Lake Erie and a good water system and the fire protection water does come from you, right?
Absolutely, 100%. We have 4,116 fire hydrants.
How did you know that?
Well, some of these numbers, just are at the tip of my tongue. Some of them I have to look up. That's one I know. And so, maintaining those, operating those, we are in communication with fire departments. They communicate with us when they've operated hydrants so we can make sure we check them. Sometimes if there's an issue, we get right ahead of it. So it's really a collaborative effort. And with that being said, it's snowing out, right? So while you're shoveling, if you can, please help make sure your fire hydrant by your house is kept uncovered. That helps emergency responders when needed get to that. And it also, when they're uncovered, plow trucks won't hit it. When we had this Snowmageddon not too long ago, Tom, and we had all of these entities from outside of Erie County coming in to help us dig out. We probably had 30 different fire hydrants damaged by plow trucks and other things that didn't know they were there, right? Because they were covered up. So it's important.
Don't bend those fiberglass plastic markers. I notice a lot of them get broken, but boy, those are a great idea. So I guess you can call someone to get those replaced if they're broken. I'm not sure, but
absolutely. And I'll tell you this, Tom, one of the things that's brought to light, we're going to be really getting aggressive with putting markers on our fire hydrants to make sure that, if snow does get up to the high level, that we're still able to help, locate those a little bit quicker. So that's definitely going to be something that we're work on a lot more in 2025 here.
Before we run out of time, what's the next big deal for you? What are your plans? Or is it business as usual and keep up the good work? What?
I'll tell you, we have a lot of great things on the horizon. We really want to be out there educating our public about what we're up to. We just had one of our favorite slogan, is now a registered trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and that's world-class water, first-class service. And that's something we strive to provide every single day, and it's something that we're really proud of. We have a very aggressive capital budget this year. Lots of projects going on. We're always looking at ways we can improve water quality, but we're doing a lot of neat things too. We've actually added, for the first time ever, 3 electric vehicles to our fleet. And we have a fleet of over 100 vehicles, all gasoline, diesel. But where it makes sense, we're really going to look at where we can make some gains relative to electric vehicles, potentially solar in the future, if it makes sense. We're really trying to look at strategies to make our business stronger. So, we have a new customer payment system, a payment portal. Mm-hmm. It's called Resident Access. So we just unveiled that in early January. And so I wanted to make a point of that because customers that pay online or with AutoPay, they're going to have to set up a new account. And it's a real easy process, but just wanted to make sure that folks know about that. And we've been broadcasting it out, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it to you as well, because that's important for our customers. But I think this year is going to bring more innovation, going to be embarking on a strategic plan and doing a customer survey, trying to find out from our customers, how are we doing? What do you think we should be doing different? Just to check in, make sure that we're meeting expectations, and to find out where we're not, how we need to get better. So we're going to be working on that this year as well.
Last item, and I always ask, so people know, you have a board. Your board is looking at everything you do. They want you to exercise due diligence. Do you have a large board, and what are their responsibilities?
Sir, we have a 9-member board of directors. They're appointed by City Council and the mayor, and they represent our community. There's 6 individuals that are from the city of Erie, 2 from Mill Creek Township, and 1 from Harbor Creek Township. And that's kind of representative of our customer base. But that board of directors, they have responsibility, fiduciary responsibility to make sure we're doing what we need to do, to make sure our financials are right, that our rates are appropriate, and that we're investing in the water system, and really focusing on job number 1, which is water quality. Water quality is job 1. I talk about it all the time. And so that's our product, right? We need that to be a number 1 all the time. So, our board has oversight of myself and the entire team. And we do very transparent reporting, finances, projects, everything we need to do. We have clean audits. We have a great bond rating. And that really is because of the leadership of the previous administration and our board. Our board has done excellent work over time to help direct this organization and make it world-class. And that's why we say world-class water, first-class service. We're striving to be that and maintain that as much as we can. And so that's really something that we're excited about.
Well, it makes me feel comfortable. And as I look across Lake Erie, you're fortunate in a lot of other ways, because try and imagine doing your job, say, some inland area or Charlotte or unfortunately, California. We're not being funny here, but boy, we are very fortunate, aren't we?
Absolutely, 100%. And as I look at it today, I thank God every day for the source we have and what it's going to do for our community now and in the future. Tom, we have a source that's ready, and so as the West dries up, the Great Lakes will be ready, and more importantly, Erie County will be ready for that growth.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Craig Palmer, Chief Executive Officer. The Erie Water Works seems like you're doing a good job at the helm, and your staff and your management people and your 100-plus employees working diligently. Unfortunately, the cold weather is not making it easy for them. But right. Overall, you folks do an excellent job, and I want to thank you heartily for sitting with me for a half hour here. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Anytime. I'll talk about water any day of the week, every day of the week. So I really appreciate the opportunity.